Welcome back. Good afternoon. Shabbat Shalom to you all. For those of you that it is still Shabbat, some people it is 1:30 in the morning, and where I'm at is 1:30 in the afternoon on Shabbat. But some people it's 1:30 in the morning tomorrow, depending on where you are on the earth. But good afternoon to you. Welcome back. We have been studying Hosea, and we finished the first. Welcome back. We have finished the first 4 chapters of the prophecy of Hosea, a prophet of the northern tribes of Israel. And now we go to prophets of chapter 5 of Hosea, the prophecy of chapter 5 of Hosea. Now, let's go over what we've already studied. So we see the first 2 chapters how the Most High compared his northern kingdom to a harlot wife, to an adulterous wife. And he showed how he was going to deal with the adulterous wife with the eventual purpose of bringing her back and redeeming her, which he showed in Hosea chapter 3. Then we looked at chapter 4, and we saw that the downfall began with willful ignorance, which was caused by a desire to satisfy greed and pride. And willful ignorance caused the people to actually become ignorant and be destroyed. Now, what we are seeing in the example of Hosea with the northern kingdom, and of course with also the southern kingdom, what we are seeing is our enemy, Satan, and the ways in which he induces us to leave the truth of the Most High. The various ways that he deceives us and induces us to leave the truth of the Most High. So let's go first to Isaiah. Back to Isaiah, the prophet of Isaiah, Yeshaya, chapter 9. And I'm going to begin at verse 8 of Isaiah chapter 9. Isaiah chapter 9, beginning at verse 8. The Most High sent a word into Jacob, and it hath lighted upon Israel. And all the people shall know, even Ephraim and the inhabitants of Samaria, that say in the pride and stoutness of heart, the bricks are fallen down, but we will build, and with hewn stones. The sycamores are cut down, but we will change them into cedars. Therefore, Yahweh shall set up the adversaries of Rezin against him, and join his enemies together, the Syrians before and the Philistines behind, and they shall devour Israel with open mouth. For all this, his anger is not turned away, but his hand is stretched out still. For the people turneth not unto him that smiteth them, neither do they seek Yahweh of hosts. Therefore, Yahweh will cut off from Israel head and tail, branch and rush in one day. The ancient and honourable, he is the head, and the prophet that teacheth lies, he is the tail. For the leaders of this people cause them to err, and they that are led of them are destroyed. So the leaders of the people teach them to err. So first you have a willful ignorance in turning away from the truth. This is followed after that closely with it by leaders that cause the people to err away from the truth further and teach them lies. Okay. And then, of course, the Bible does warn us, and the Bible likens this process that I just described to you. It likens it, and it uses a term. Let's look in Deuteronomy again, the book of the law, Deuteronomy chapter 29. Deuteronomy chapter 29. I'm going to begin at verse 18. Deuteronomy chapter 29, verse 18. Lest there should be among you man or woman or family or tribe whose heart turneth away this day from Yahweh our Most High, to go and serve God, the gods of these nations, lest there should be among you a root that beareth gall and wormwood. Gall and wormwood, to go after the gods of the nations. He's talking about now gall and wormwood. That should sound familiar. We're going to go back and find out where we've seen that before. But verse 19, and it shall come to pass when he heareth the words of this curse, that he bless himself in his heart, saying, I shall have peace, though I walk in the imagination of my heart, to add drunkenness to thirst. Yahweh will not spare him. But then the anger of Yahweh and his jealousy shall smoke against that man, and all the curses that are written in this book shall lie upon him. And Yahweh shall blot out his name from under heaven. And Yahweh shall separate him unto evil out of all the tribes of Israel, according to all the curses of the covenant that are written in this book of the law, so that the generation to come of your children that shall rise up after you, and the stranger that shall come up from a far land shall say, when they see the plagues of that land and the sicknesses upon what Yahweh hath placed upon it, and that the whole land thereof is brimstone and salt and burning, that it is not sown, nor beareth, nor any grass groweth therein, like the overthrow of Sodom and Gomorrah, Admah and Zeboim, which Yahweh overthrew in his anger and in his wrath, even all nations shall say, wherefore hath Yahweh done this unto this land? What meaneth the heat of this great anger? Then the men shall say, because they have forsaken the covenant of Yahweh Most High of their fathers, which he made with them when he brought them forth out of the land of Egypt. For they went and served other gods and worshipped them, gods whom they knew not, and whom he had not given unto them. And the anger of Yahweh was kindled against this land to bring upon it all the curses that are written in this book. And Yahweh rooted them out of their land in anger, in wrath, in great indignation, and cast them into another land as it is this day. The secret things belong unto Yahweh our Most High. But those things which are revealed belong unto us and to our children forever, that we may do all the words of this law. So the things revealed, his law, his covenant, his spirit, that's been revealed to us. He said there are things that's not been revealed to us. Seems like people are seeking more of that than was plainly revealed in his word. He said that belongs to us. He said, but we seeking after other gods and other things, and he calls that gall and wormwood. Well, let's go now back to our present time in the book of Revelation, Revelation chapter 8, Revelation chapter 8 of the 7 trumpets, Revelation chapter 8. And let's begin at verse 10, Revelation 8 and verse 10. And the third angel sounded, and there fell a great star from heaven, burning as it were a lamp, and it fell upon the third part of the rivers and upon the fountains of the waters. And the name of the star is called Wormwood. And the third part of the waters became wormwood. And many men died because of the waters, because they were made bitter. Now, as we're looking at Revelation here in chapter 8, let us remember each trumpet corresponds to each church, corresponds to each seal. So wormwood here is the third trumpet. Let's look at the third church in Revelation chapter 2. The third church was Smyrna. Actually, no, I'm sorry. The second church, Smyrna. The third church was Pergamos. That's the third one. Pergamos. That's right. Revelation chapter 2, beginning at verse 12. Now, compared to the wormwood we just saw. In the wormwood, we read about in Deuteronomy. And the error of the people in following false leaders that we read about already in Isaiah. Here, Revelation chapter 2, the third church, going with the third trumpet, Pergamos. And to the angel of the church of Pergamos, right? These things saith he that hath the sharp sword with 2 edges. I know thy works, I know that works, and where thou dwellest, even where Satan's seat is, and thou holdest fast my name, and have not denied my faith, even in those days wherein Antipas, my faithful martyr, who was slain among you, where Satan dwelleth. But I have a few things against thee, because thou hast there them that hold the doctrine of Balaam, a doctrine, a teaching of Balaam and WormWood and false teachers. Balaam, who taught Balak to cast a stumbling block before the children of Israel, to eat things sacrificed unto idols, and to commit fornication. That's the third church, which goes with the third trumpet that's called WormWood, which the Bible told us in Deuteronomy chapter 29 as people teaching things out of the imagination of their own heart instead of following closely the word, and especially teaching Israelites who's supposed to be following the words of the covenant. WormWood and gall. Wait, what about the third seal? See, people get these horses, they start looking at these horses and start tripping. You got to read the seals with the churches with the trumpets. Here's the third seal, Revelation chapter 5. Chapter 6, Revelation chapter 6, the third seal. Revelation 6, beginning at verse 5. Remember what we already read. Now we're in Revelation 6, verse 5, the third seal. We just saw the third church. We saw the third trumpet. Now we're seeing the third seal. And when he had opened the third seal, I heard the third beast say, come and see. And I beheld, and lo, a black horse. And he that sat on him had a pair of balances in his hand. Black in this case means darkness. Darkness. WormWood. Gall. False teaching. Balaam. Deception. Doctrines. All these words we have seen here. Okay, wait a minute. And he had a pair of balances in his hand. Now, back in the day, balances were used as in commerce, in business. In other words, you're weighing the value of goods, wheat, barley, in balances. When we pick cotton, they used to weigh the cotton in balances, right? That's what he's talking about here. Look, follow what it said. Verse 6. And I heard a voice in the midst of the four beasts say, a measure of wheat for a penny, and 3 measures of barley for a penny, and see thou hurt not the oil and wine. So in other words, let's put it all together. Darkness, spiritual darkness, bitterness in spirit from gall and wormwood. Bitterness that makes waters that's supposed to taste sweet, bitter. Coming from people teaching out of the imagination of their own heart. And Israel receiving this from false teachers. And then you're dealing with money. Why? Because greed and lust for power and money lead us to these areas. Does that all make sense? So you have greedy people and people that want money teaching people falsehood that is really no satisfaction to your soul. Because especially if you're an Israelite, you were created to receive truth. You're created to receive righteousness. You're created to be redeemed from the blood and righteousness of Messiah. But instead, you got people teaching you out of the imagination of their own heart. Not from the word alone. The word alone. To the law and to the testimony. If they speak not according to this word, is because there's no light in it. Isaiah 8:20. To the law and to the testimony. If they speak not according to this word, because there's no light in it. One more. Revelation, which we all know now. Revelation chapter 13. Revelation chapter 13. Beginning at verse 2. Revelation 13, beginning at verse 2, going down to verse 4. It all goes together, brethren. Here we are. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion. And the dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority. And I saw one of his heads, as it were, wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed. And all the world wondered after the beast, and they worshiped the dragon, which gave power unto the beast, and they worshiped the beast, saying, who is like unto the beast? Who is able to make war with him? So now we've been led into darkness because of the error of our fathers, to doctrines of devils that give us gall and wormwood, make us bitter, don't give us no freedom or no hope of freedom, by leaders who are greedy and seeking to be led into error by the imagination of their own heart instead of the word of the Most High. And then you got people doing this who are willfully ignorant, to bring further darkness and blackness of ignorance to those that are listening to them. The whole plan is exposed in the word, praise his name. And then, of course, this is what Hosea chapter 5 is all about. So let's look at Hosea chapter 5. So now we've seen chapter 4, where the people reject knowledge and the Most High rejects them. They become willfully ignorant. Okay, so let's go to chapter 5 and let's see what we see also today in 2021 with the religious leaders and the powers that we make. See, you got to be careful, bro. Who's your leaders? Now, I know it's good to say the Most High is my leader, and that's the way it should be. The Most High should be your leader. We should follow the example of the Messiah. Because Messiah kept telling the children of Israel, and he kept telling the Sanhedrin, I follow my Father and seek my Father's kingdom. And I have a kingdom, and that's why they arrested him, because he said, I have another king. I have another kingdom. Brethren, we should seek that example. Our Father, Yah, through Messiah, is giving us a kingdom, and we are seeking his kingdom first. First and foremost is the Father's kingdom. The Father's kingdom is not established by man. The Father's kingdom is established by the Hebrew Messiah, the Lion of the tribe of Judah. Okay? When man starts to talk to you about establishing the Father's kingdom in their power, you already know it's a problem. Okay? You already know it's a problem. Or when a man-made religion, like Christianity, talks about establishing the kingdom, you already know there's a problem. There's no Christian religion that's going to be in any kingdom of Yah. The Bible never speaks of any Christianity as part of Yah's eternal kingdom of Israel. It doesn't speak of that. It speaks of Israel. So you already know there's a problem, right? So who are your leaders? There are leaders. There's always leaders. Moses was a leader. Was he not? Well, what did Moses do? Did not Moses point the people to Yah? Did not Moses point the people to the word? Did not Messiah point the people to Yah and to the word? He said, search the scriptures, for in them you think you have eternal life, and they are they which testify of me. Search the scriptures. Search the word. Go to Yah himself. Messiah said, pray to your Father, for your Father loves you. He himself loves you. Pray to your Father, Messiah said. Okay, pray to your Father. He said, when you go into your house, go to your secret closet and shut your door and pray to your Father in secret, that your Father will see it in secret will reward you openly. The true leaders always will lead the people to the truth. And the truth is in the word of the Most High. And they're always going to point the people to Yah and to his word. Not to self, not to any 501c3 ministry or any ABCD camp. No praise and honor to the ministers of whatever ABCD camp you have. Not to any man-made religion, because we know man-made religion is 666. That's man-made religion. 666. Beast, dragon, and the false prophet. Man-made religion. Man can be God. That's all you have there. The true leader is always going to point you to the Most High himself, because it's only Yah that can give you salvation through Messiah. It's only Messiah that can decide which one of us is going to receive his Father's Spirit. So you don't need to go to me or go to anybody. You need to go to the Father Yah. But you have leaders. He has appointed leaders. Moses was a leader. But then you got other leaders. False leaders like Jesse Jackson. False leader appointed by man to claim that he's the leader of black people. Okay? Okay? So beware who your leaders are and who they pointing you to and what they're pointing you to. It's not that hard, brother. It really is not. True leaders are going to point you to the word, not to a bunch of other books. Somebody come at you and say, you ever read the Book of Mormon? That's not one of your leaders. You ever read Spirit of Prophecy, Ellen White? That's not one of your leaders. You need to read the Apocrypha. That's not one of your leaders. Nope. Very simple. Very simple, not complicated. And cause you to go seek your Father for yourself. Okay? And now, let's go to Hosea chapter 5. Hosea chapter 5. Hear this, O priests, beginning at verse 1. Hear ye this, O priests, and hearken, ye house of Israel, and give ear, O house of the king. Now he's talking to all the leaders. For judgment is toward you, because ye have been a snare on Mizpah, a net spread upon Tabor. And the revolters are profound to make slaughter, though I have been a rebuker of them all. So he said, I rebuke all the leaders, and they still leave my people to slaughter. Why? Because they're greedy. It's power hunger. You always know. They're always asking you to dig deep in your pockets for money. They don't want to really earn any money. They want you to give it to them. You ever notice that? I know Ephraim, and Israel is not hid from me. For now, O Ephraim, thou committest whoredom, and Israel is defiled. They will not frame their doings to turn unto their Most High. For the spirit of whoredoms is in the midst of them. They have not known Yahweh. And the pride of Israel doth testify to his faith. Therefore shall Israel and Ephraim fall in their iniquity. Judah also shall fall with them. And they shall go with their flocks and with their herds to seek Yahweh. But they shall not find him. He hath withdrawn himself from them. They have dealt treacherously against Yahweh, for they have begotten strange children. Now shall a month devour them with their portions. Strange children. What does that mean? Again, that goes back to marriage. If you go back and you look at Nehemiah and Ezra, a lot of Israelites that came back from Babylon had married strange women. And they said strange women, yeah, foreign women that served other gods. And they had children with them, children that did not know about their Israelite heritage. And then what they ended up having to do when they came out of Babylon to come back and rebuild Jerusalem and the temple, they had them divorce those women. That's spiritual application. I'm not saying you should all divorce your women if they're not believers. This is application. In other words, when you come into the Most High, you need to leave all other spiritual things alone. And that's what I say. There's a lot to learn and unlearn and learn again. Like I said, when I came out of the SDA church, I had to go through the Bible. The Most High had me go through the scripture, verse by verse, chapter by chapter, book by book, and compare everything I was taught in that church to what the Bible says. And cast off everything that church taught me that was not biblically sound. And then, having been brainwashed as I was, I had to relearn many things. My wife and I were just talking about that today. She was saying I still have so much to relearn because we were so indoctrinated in the SDA church. We had to relearn by going straight with the word alone. And that's what happens. We all have coming out of Eurocentric culture that's built in man-made religions. Okay, all of us are. And so there's a lot to unlearn. As you read the word, there's a lot to unlearn, and there's a lot to learn again. And we used to, like, back when we were in the SDA church, it was so dry bone in there. There was no spirit in there. That every once in a while there would be a traveling preacher that we would be so excited to see because we were hoping they would bring a power and a spirit that we were missing. We never really at that time gave heed that what we were being taught was error. We just thought it was just because we were all dead and we just lost the fire that was in us. Well, it was true. We did lose the fire. And the reason we lost it is because we was trusting in man-made religion. You will never lose the fire of Yah when you're trusting in Yah alone. You will never lose his spirit if you're seeking him for yourself. You will learn to trust in his spirit because that's what brings you salvation. And you will learn to really, I know myself, distaste, spit out, don't want nothing to do with when man comes with their doctrines. That's why we can never go back to where we came from. It'd be like a dog returning to his vomit. Because we know we have tasted for ourselves the Spirit of the Father and the truth of his word alone. We have tasted it for ourselves and we know it's real. So we can't go back to gall and wormwood once you have tasted that. That's why the Bible says, oh, taste and see that Yahweh is good. You got to taste him for yourself. Got to taste the word for yourself. Praise the Most High. Yes, you have to, that's the beginning stage. For myself, it was different. Like Sister Wade is saying how her church keep calling her. And I want to say for myself, it was a little different. And I'll tell you why. Because, like I said, it was 18 years ago that I really started, reading the word. So around 2003, I started really focusing on the word. But even before that, I wanted the truth. And so I would always question, why are you teaching this? Where is this coming from? And oftentimes in the SDA church, it was about Ellen White. Well, this is what Sister White teaches. That was the explanation. And they would say this, once Sister White says it, that's the end of it. Just believe that. And so for years, that quelled I was asking questions and that quelled me. And they had gotten me because when I first came to that church, I was all about the Bible. But then having gotten into the church and being indoctrinated into Ellen White, I wasn't just trusting the Bible anymore. And I didn't even realize what happened to me. And so as I began to read the word and I began to see things in the church that were anathema against the word, and I would say, why is this? And it started becoming more and more evident that Ellen White said it wasn't good enough for me. And then sometimes they would say Ellen White said it and she didn't say it. They were just using that phrase to get you to shut up. And this was especially true when I started to ask them, how come we never teach that people can overcome sin? And they would say, because we can't overcome sin. And I would say, and I would reason it in my mind and say, if we can't overcome sin, then the spirit of sin is stronger than the spirit of the Father and the spirit of Yah, the spirit of the Most High, the spirit of Christ. It was stronger because we can't overcome sin. And they would say, no, that's not true. I said, so why can't we overcome sin? You see, because a church can't get you to overcome sin. You overcome sin by the spirit of the Father. And when you're following the Spirit, you no longer are following the church. So I became, without trying, more and more rebellious. They would stand up for Sabbath school and teach out of a quarterly. And I said, why aren't you teaching out the Bible by itself? Why are you looking at this book? They said, well, because this quarter we're studying Isaiah. I said, let's look at Isaiah then. What you looking at that? And then they would put in their quarterly quotations from Sunday preachers. I said, if we believe in keeping the Sabbath, why are you quoting Sunday preachers? And they would just, my wife would tell you, my wife and kids almost didn't want to go in church with me because I would be calling it out. And in spite of calling it out, without trying, the Most High would always have me in front of the church teaching. They hated me. And I always wondered, why would he have me in front of the church? I'd end up in front of the church teaching. And then they'd be mad when I taught. Because I was coming from the word. Some would be happy. So one day, it got to the point where I was in the Northern New England Conference of Seventh-day Adventists, and I got called to Portland, Maine. That's where the headquarters are. And they had a round table, and they had the conference president and the conference treasurer and all these people. And if you keep teaching about this grace like this, we're going to have to separate from you. And I said, well, I think we're going to have a separation then, because this ain't, you guys not preaching the Bible. And they said, well, what you're teaching, Ellen White didn't teach it. I said, okay. Okay. The Bible teaches it. We can overcome sin through the righteousness. No, you can't teach that. We don't believe that. Okay. Then they put out slander, and they sent it. I was preaching in a prison. I was preaching in a prison. The warden let me come in, and as an Adventist, but as a Christian at that time, teaching the prison. They sent letters to the prison saying, don't let this man in your prison. The warden laughed at them, but they was trying their best to every place I went to stop me, and they couldn't until I left their church. Then, like I said, so my situation wasn't like they were calling me back. Oh, once in a while, one would say, you need to come back to the church. One of my, I had a Jamaican family that was big time in the church. They used to teach at the Adventist college, and one was president of the college, and they were well-known PhDs in theology. Bro, God, come back to the church, man. No, man, I need the Bible. Give me some Bible. Give me the Bible. Y'all always talking about you being the Bible. Well, let's read it then. So in my case, there was no calling back. There was no calling back to the church. It wasn't there. They was glad to get rid of me, and I was glad to leave. I don't want nothing to do with no falsehood at all. You understand? They don't want nothing to do with this brother. And so there was brothers were coming to me secretly, brother, what you believe, what you do, blah, blah, blah. And then, and they would say, I believe what you're saying is true. And I said, and that was one brother came to me like that, saying, yeah, I believe what you're saying is true. Like, did that Nicodemus move on me, right? So I said, well, how come nobody in your church knows that? And I told him, I said, you think if I walked up in there, they would know what I believe? And he just laughed. See, there are very few people that will stand for truth. Not many brothers whisper in my ear, oh yeah, I'll stand with you, brother. You go ahead and do it. No. And they will give you this impression. This comes from Rome to all the Christian church. They'll give you this impression that if you're not in their church, you're going to be lost. Oh no, you're going to be an independent Adam out there by yourself. Really? You mean like John the Baptist? You mean like Paul? You mean like Moses or Jeremiah? Like that? Because all of them were like that. See what I'm saying? So yeah, I hear you. They calling you. They want, oh, sister, come back, please. You know what they really want? Seriously, you know what they want, right? They want that money. You must be giving them a tithe envelope. I can tell you right now. You must be giving them a tithe envelope because they're looking for that money. That was wondering. There was especially the last years I was there, man. They keep asking me to teach, right? And I remember, I used to give money to that church, but I did it out of a willing heart. And there was a couple of years, before we went into real hard times, we went into some real hard times, lost everything. But before that, I was making a good 6-figure income. And I would write checks sometimes in the church and pay off a mortgage, make a mortgage payment for them, or sometimes buy whatever they needed. And I wouldn't say nothing. I just write the check. And I caught them lying a couple of times, saying, "Oh, we're behind the mortgage," when I know they weren't, because I paid it. And that's why they kept calling me. They wanted the money. They didn't want the spirit. They wanted the loaves and the fishes. You understand? And I got it. I caught it. Caught it. See? So, yeah, I know they be calling you back. They want that money. They want that money. They want that body in the seats. That's more money. For me, they only want my money now. Because they know this brother will raise Cain up in there with the word. I'll come with the word. Don't come in there with no falsehood standing before me now. No. One time I stood up and told a man to sit down. They had to drag me out. I said, "Sit down. You have no business in God's pulpit," because I called it God's pulpit. I thought it was his. I said, "You got no business in there. Sit down." They said, "Brother Todd, please, Brother Todd, don't start. Please, don't have me in here with this man standing up in the pulpit claiming to be a preacher and coming with that foolishness." That's what I'm saying. I can't see. I'm too rebellious, man. I'm one of them Negroes that they had to kick off the ship. I would have jumped in and be eaten by the sharks, because that's that's the way it was, y'all. Yeah, man. They please. So that's why he had to have me do what I'm doing here. He had to, because I was too I wasn't gonna be putting up with that. I am too zealous of the Most High's word. I can totally be patient with somebody that doesn't believe like me and is and is teaching. Maybe not, I don't agree with their teaching, but I know they're sincere and learning. But don't bring me in no established religious organization that wants my money and claim that they're supposed to be in the truth, because you're gonna have a problem. You're gonna have a problem. Because I happen to have read the Bible a few times. So you're gonna have a problem. And the more I read, the more it becomes like that. And that's why I'm encouraging all of y'all, read the word. I get so many people emailing me and texting me and giving me message about what the Lord showed them. And I asked them, I said, where in the word did you get these things? Hardly anybody writes back. I said, I'm assuming you obviously have read the Bible through a few times to come through with all of these doctrines and these teachings that you know. No. See, praise the Most High. Brethren, we're too close to the return of the Messiah and the establishment of the kingdom to be playing around with falsehood. We're too close. You can't mess around with falsehood. Now, as we get filled with the Spirit of the Father, he has already started giving a call to the people that are in these churches to come out and follow him alone. He's already doing it. Come out and follow the word. That's going to get stronger. That's the Laodicean call. That's the call of the Laodicea. That's the call of the Laodicea. You say you have need of nothing. That's because you're following the goddess of reason. You following the queen of heaven. You following the princess Diana. You following Moab. You following Chemosh. You following Baal, the Lord. You're not following Yah. You going back to Egypt. That's what. Follow the word of the Most High. Especially you Israelites by blood. You guys have been called for that. You've been called for that. And he's going to continue to cause us to be growing in his spirit, that he could use us for his glory. That's what this is about. It's not about anything but the Father's glory. Because that's what Messiah taught us. He taught us he lives and breathed for the Father's glory. Everything he did was to honor the Father. And we must be the same way if we're going to be children of the kingdom. We must be the same way. Not the honor and glory of the SDA Church or Ellen White, or the honor and glory of anybody's organization. The honor and glory of the Father alone. He does not dwell in buildings made with hands. Isn't that what he taught us? He does not dwell in buildings made with hands. And we're looking for his honor and glory, for the glory of his word. We're taking up his promises that we can receive of his spirit. Okay, that's what this is about. Back to Hosea. Hosea chapter 5. Hosea chapter 5. I'm going to start at verse 5. Let me start at verse 4 again. They will not frame their doings to turn unto their Most High. For the spirit of whoredoms is in the midst of them. They have not known Yahweh. And the pride of Israel doth testify to his face. Therefore shall Israel and Ephraim fall in their iniquity. Judah also shall fall with them. They shall go with their flocks and with their herds to seek Yahweh, but they shall not find him. He hath withdrawn himself from them. They have dealt treacherously against Yahweh, for they have begotten strange children. Now shall a month devour them with their portions. Blow ye the cornet in Gibeah, and the trumpet in Ramah. Cry aloud at Bath Aven. After thee, O Benjamin, Ephraim shall be desolate in the day of rebuke. Among the tribes of Israel have I made known that which shall surely be. The princes of Judah were like them that remove the bound. Therefore, I will pour out my wrath upon them like water. Ephraim is oppressed and broken in judgment, because he willingly walked after the commandment. When it says after the commandment, look up the translation. It's after the commandment of men. Ephraim willingly walked after the commandments of men. And that's why he poured his wrath upon him. It just says here, after the commandment. But if you look after the commandment up in the Hebrew, it's after man's teachings. Okay? Therefore will I be unto Ephraim as a moth, and to the house of Judah as rottenness. When Ephraim saw his sickness and Judah saw his wound, then went Ephraim to the Assyrian and sent to the king Jerub. Yet could he not heal you, nor cure you of your wound. For I will be unto Ephraim as a lion, and as a young lion to the house of Judah. I, even I, will tear and go away. I will take away, and none shall rescue him. I will go and return to my place till they acknowledge their offense and seek my face. In their affliction, they will seek me early. In their affliction. So he allows the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom to go in affliction. And we're seeking after man. It says Assyrian. That's the Hamitic kingdom of Babylon. We're seeking after man to help us. Man cannot help us. And Jeremiah says, thou hast no healing medicines. Your lovers cannot heal you. Thou hast no healing medicines. Notice again, Psalm 119. Psalm 119, I'm going to read from verse 65 to verse 72, the teth. Psalm 119 is deep in that each stanza is an alphabet of the Hebrew alphabet. It's a letter in the Hebrew alphabet. Here's teth, ta, okay, is 65 through 72. Notice what it says. Psalm 119, 65 through 72. Thou hast dealt well with thy servant, O Yahweh, according to thy word. Teach me good judgment and knowledge, for I have believed thy commandments. Before I was afflicted, I went astray, but now have I kept thy word. Thou art good and dost good. Teach me thy statutes. The proud have forged a lie against me, but I will keep thy precepts with my whole heart. Their heart is as fat as grease, but I delight in thy law. It is good for me that I have been afflicted, that I might learn thy statutes. The law of thy mouth is better unto me than thousands of silver and gold. Notice all the principles here. So he's telling them, Yah, teach me your statutes. Teach me your judgments, for they are good. They're more important to me than money, silver and gold. They're more important to me. Your law is more important to me than money. And before you afflicted me, I went astray. But after I got afflicted, I kept your word. That's what he said. I will go and return to my place till they acknowledge their offense and seek my face. In their affliction, they shall seek me early. That's what he's waiting for. He's not waiting long, though, because it's already started. That's called the awakening. He's already started. In our affliction, we're turning back to Yah. Why? Because every other avenue, all the false teachers, all the false churches are not giving us the answers that we need. They're not giving us the answers that we need. They're not pointing us to where the fountain of living water is. They're pointing us to idols, and they're pointing us to the gods of our enemies. That's what they're doing. And he's allowing, he being Yah, allowing us to be afflicted so that we can seek him early. That's what he's doing. Teach me your statutes, Father. He said, teach me your judgments. I loved your law more than silver and gold. Before I was afflicted, I went astray, but now I'm keeping your word. It was good for me that I was afflicted, that I might learn your statutes. He's trying to, that's the formula. He's teaching us from the word. So you see how Ephraim is an example of us, but also you see the northern kingdom. He's given us what happened to the northern kingdom. He's telling us he's going to give us more hints about the northern kingdom as we continue to study his word. Praise the Most High. But of course, being Israel, he's teaching all Israel and Judah, but praise the Most High. That's exactly right. Every single day, all the religions, all the news media outlets lie to us. Because the Bible says, what does it say? The dragon gives him power and seat and great authority. Remember, let that sink in. So power, seat, and great authority on the planet Earth is given to a deceiver and a liar. And only a small remnant keep the commandments of Yah and the testimony or the witness of the Messiah. Because it's a Hebrew group. His servants. He's come to give his servants things which must shortly come to pass. Okay? Praise the Most High. I'll tell you one day, I know y'all going to forget, but I'm telling you anyway. I'm going to be arrested. I'm not in no rich palace. I'm not taking nobody's money. I'm going to be arrested, though. You said, well, what? Because you cannot preach truth and think it's going to be okay. Was Fred Hampton rich? I mean, was he living life of luxury and collecting big money when they came in his apartment and blew him all up? And then they shot 100 bullets into his apartment and didn't even touch him. People don't think about that. They shot 100 bullets in his apartment and it didn't not one touched him through paper thin walls. So then they went into the apartment and checked on him. And they said, he's still alive. And then when they got in the apartment and his woman testified, she heard him say, boom, boom, boom. Now this one good and dead. Fred Hampton was a poor young man from Chicago. They came in there and killed him. Okay. The difference between me and those of us teaching the word and Fred Hampton is we're not trying to create a political party. We're awakening to the word of Yah as to who we are as Israelites. That's a whole different thing. We're not trying to take the United States to the UN on charges of human mistreatment. No, we're going to the kingdom of Yah. And we're warning the earth that it's coming. And it's going to crush all of these kingdoms. That's what we're doing. Was Messiah rich and powerful when they grabbed him, when his own people turned him into the heathen, to the Gentiles? Was he rich when they put him to death for saying he had a kingdom? No, brethren. This is a war. It's a war in the spirit. And it's a war between truth and error. That's all it is. See, money is involved because people are being induced to turn over, for money. That's all it is. Okay, that's what it is. So, and so with us, I'm definitely not poor. Now, Most High blessed me. I got food and shelter and clothing. He's taking care of my wife and I. Okay, but we're not rich. But I'm going to be arrested one day. They're going to take this channel down too. This is going to happen, but it's all in Yah's time. That's why, it's all good. I'm not worried about it. I don't, because it's all in Yah's time. Everything's in his time. Okay. So that's why I'm saying, while y'all get the chance, please read your word, read the Bible, study it for yourself. Study it for yourself. Study it. And then when you finish reading it, read it again. Don't trust me. Trust the word. Trust your Father. Forget the Apocrypha. Genesis to Revelation. Read it for yourself. Pray over it. And when you finish, pray some more and read it again. You're going to get visions. You're going to get dreams. He's going to show you as you study his word. And he's going to guide you where you're supposed to be. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about the heathen. Don't worry about nothing they're doing or nothing they're saying. Stay with the Most High's word. Praise the Most High. So please enjoy the rest of this Sabbath. Please study the word of YAH and pray to him. Please pray for me and my wife too, that we would stay faithful to his word, because we are tempted to move just like anybody else, to do something stupid, to go somewhere we're not supposed to. Let all pray for us that we make the right decisions to serve YAH properly, as we're praying for you also. Praise the Most High. Really give him praise and honor. So please have a safe weekend. Be safe out there, brethren. It's a dangerous world we live in. We know we're not ignorant of the devil's devices. And may the Most High please bless you and keep you and cause his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you and lift up his countenance upon you and give you eternal peace. Sure.